Welcome to Paddy's Say, our regular chat with Swindon trainer Paddy Fitzpatrick. How you doing, Paddy?
Hello, sir.
We talked about Frampton Quigg last week. We're going to have to talk about it again because it's all kicking off. About changing rooms, banter at the press conferences and things like that. There's probably a whole load more arguments that are going to develop later today. What have you made of the build-up this week so far?
What you'd expect leading into a big fight, pay-per-view fight, or mostly what you'd expect. Some of it's not been worth having to say over, but it's what you'd expect.
The main issue at the moment appears to be the home dressing room. What's your take on that one?
Quigg's going to get it, isn't he? Can't see no other way. It's not in the contract. It's an Eddie Hearn promotion. Might be an association with Cyclone, but it's an Eddie Hearn promotion. Quigg is his fighter. He'll get whatever changing room he wants.
Just how important is it for a boxer if they're going to say, I want that changing room, you're not going to have that changing room. If they lose that battle, or even if they win that battle, psychologically, how important is that?
It's as important as they make it. And that's the simplicity of it, isn't it? Same thing as having your first pro fight, having a title fight, and having a title fight in front of 20,000 or 80,000 people. It's what you make it in your head. So a changing room was a space where you're going to get your hands wrapped, get warm, hit the mitts a bit, focus, and go do your job. So if you've made it this great big deal in your head, then it's a great big deal. If it's just an empty argument you're having just for the sake of it, just to cause a wind-up, then it ain't no big deal where you warm up.
You've been on that stage, on the press conference stage, and you've probably seen a lot of arguments like this develop behind the scenes. Any that spring to mind that you can tell us about? No,
they're just all, because you never pay too much attention. They're all much for muchness, and they're just crap to get on with, isn't it? None of it means anything. None of it means anything, like you say, unless you think it is, unless you make it so.
Obviously been a fair bit of talk between the boxers, between the promoters, and between the trainers. What have you made of that this week? What's been said by some of those parties?
In what way? You'll have to give me specifics because there's a lot of men involved.
Well, let's start with the two boxers. It's all getting a little bit narky now, isn't it? And obviously they both believe they're going to win. So who's won that psychological battle between Frampton and Quigg?
I don't think anyone's won it. Carl is definitely getting a little bit wound up. You might say he's not, but he is getting a little bit wound up because he's acting a little bit out of character to what he usually would. And Quigg seems to be same old Quigg.
Eddie Hearn and Barry McGuigan, they both seem relatively calm, but they've had little jibes at each other.
Yeah, but Barry is more involved with his fighter as he's in the gym with him as well. So when he's getting too involved or wound up, I can't see that being a positive effect on the fighter if you carry that into the gym. Whereas Eddie Hearn is just being a promoter, doing his thing, and he has no input on the fighter, no input on what happens in the gym. That's Joe Gallagher's business, and Eddie keeps out of it. So I wouldn't see Eddie saying the things he's saying as being any kind of negative at all. But if the games are left at the press conference here, if the games are left at the weigh-in, that's all well and good. But if the person who's involved in those games is consistently around you in the lead up to it, well, that can just get a bit draining, where the fighter just wants to switch off and not hear or not be bothered about it.
And on to the trainers, a lot's been said there. We just briefly spoke about Joe Gallagher's comment about, the last time that Barry fought in Manchester, and Shane felt that was disrespectful. But as we said, it was a fact. He lost.
Well, no. My point was you asked me about that, and I said that he got asked at the press conference yesterday. Shane got asked, when do you think that you said that Joe's been disrespectful about your father? What did he say that was disrespectful? So in answer to that, he said, well, he mentioned that the last time that my father was in Manchester or whatever, that he lost his fight. But that's okay if he wants to say it. Well, if it's okay, then it's not been disrespectful. And if that wasn't what he said to be disrespectful, then mention what he did say that was disrespectful. It's just talk, isn't it? And it is what it is. It's the truth. When McGuigan was there last and that last fight, he did lose. It's just is what it is. It doesn't change the fact that he was my childhood hero as a fighter, and he's just and most of Ireland's childhood hero. Doesn't change his career, but Joe chose to pick up on a point that would have some kind of effect, and it did have an effect. They took it as a slant, and then later on, when asked yesterday, was it disrespectful? He kind of said, "Well, no, it wasn't. He just chose to say it." So, when were they disrespectful? You got to choose what you're going to say. You got to be a bit clever about it. Don't be just saying people are disrespectful, and then later on saying that they kind of weren't, but they are. Or just be clear, be to the point about it.
As I said earlier, you've been on that stage, in particular with the Froch Groves fights. How difficult is it to keep your composure when you're having the press firing questions at you, when you've got someone next to you that has got the capability to say something to maybe wind you up? How difficult is it to actually get the message across that you want to and not say silly things?
Just tell the truth. Just tell the truth. And then if they ask you that question 50 times, you're still going to give the same answer. Don't get involved in saying something that ain't the truth, and don't get involved in the games overall when they're for the fighters. You want to say little things, you want to say home truths, or you want to bring up stuff like that. That's fine, because like I say, you'll always give that same answer. But the easy way to not lose your composure is don't try and win an argument. You'll never win an argument, ever win an argument. So just don't try and win one. If somebody asks you a question, give your answer that is the truth, or that you believe to be. If it's an opinion about something that hasn't happened yet, you're quite willing to give that, and that's it. Just answer them. Don't get emotionally involved in it.
Looking at the two camps at the moment, which camp do you think has got the edge? Which camp is sat in a hotel room or sat at home thinking, yeah, we're good, we're in a good place at the moment? Which camp would you rather be in at the moment if you were one of the boxers? Which
camp would I rather be in? I'd rather be in Gallagher's camp. They've been there, done it countless times. It's nothing new to them. It's not a big stage to them. I think there's too much being made of Scott hasn't boxed on this stage before. I think there's too much being made of Scott doesn't have a boxing brain. I don't understand what that means. Doesn't have a boxing brain. If you watch him against Rendell Munro, you watch him against other fighters like that, he's been bringing them forward, dropping, dipping underneath, spinning them around. He's able to box. I think Carl has got a better jab. He uses it more. That doesn't mean that he's got a better boxing brain than Scott Quigg. And I do think that when it comes to going inside, Carl's patience could work against him, against a man who it won't cost him any extra effort to be busy inside, because that's what he likes to do anyway. So, I would prefer to be on the Team Gallagher right now, if you're asking me. Yeah.
And you couldn't split them last week, but now you told me you're going to go for Quigg, and
yeah.
Why is that?
Because I went back and watched some more fights, because I knew you'd ask me again this week. So I went back and watched some more fights, and then when you see Quigg against Rendell Munro and the likes of that, able to drop down and turn around and spin out to the side and bring a man forward. Well, those fights were years ago. You telling me he hasn't got better at that? And he was good at it then. So it's okay for a fighter to have an opinion. This guy is no good, I'm going to whoop him. That's okay. But if the fighter wants the coaches to believe it, or if the coaches do believe it, well then, have you prepared for everything? I don't care what you've said. Have you prepared for everything? If you think your guy is just better than the other guy, that's not enough. You got to be prepared for everything. You got to be prepared for, if he decides to move, this is what we're going to do. If he comes forward and baits us and keeps sliding back, this is what we're going to do. When he does get inside, this is what we're going to do. But if it's just, we got the better man, that's not enough preparation. And I do get the feeling that they just think he's better. That's not enough. The fighter to think like that, okay, that's fine. I can see that. The fighter's got the ego of a fighter. That's what makes them fighters. But the coach is supposed to second guess everything. To be, prepare for everything, be ready for anything. And I'm not sure they are. And seeing as you weren't going to let me continue to sit in the fence, I'm going to go with the fact that Joe has proven over championship fights, and with the stable he has, and with as long as he's been in the game, and with the way he prepares his fighters, that he does prepare for anything. And he has a fighter that is excellent at coming forward, immensely strong and busy inside, and does have the ability to move and box. I still think that Carl probably has the better understanding of distance. I don't change my mind. I think Carl, they're both class. I think Carl is probably the more rounded fighter because he has the better jab, and the jab is the most important punch in boxing. But I said to you before, it's about when each man chooses to use the weapons that he has. So Scott might not be using the jab as much, but don't forget, Scott wouldn't be moving to try and keep Carl Frampton at bay. He'd be moving to bait him in. So even if Carl has the better jab, if Scott is able to drop down and pivot out to the side and then create the distance that he wants then to attack, Carl can have the better jab if Scott chooses to do certain things at a certain time to take that away from him. So I'm going to go with Scott, yeah.
And do you think, Scott could stop him as well?
I think either of them could stop each other. They've both been dropped, but they're both undefeated. So you can't say either one has a bad chin. Felix Trinidad got dropped every flipping fight. I think that was what woke him up to get in, and then he'd knock out the other dude. So you can't say that they got bad chins. Both men have got the power, I think, to stop the other man. So, and anyone, I don't care who it is, there'll be a lot of people saying, I told you so after this fight. So if Carl wins, there'll be people going, told you so. And if Scott wins, there'll be people going, told you so. Nobody knows. This really is a 50-50 fight. But either man can knock each other out. And I think the definite misconception is Carl's going to win on points or Scott's going to knock him out. I think Scott can outpoint him too. Outpoint him doesn't mean I'm just going to box him. It means winning the rounds. It means banking rounds. Scott can bank rounds.
And there's been a big build-up, and you did say this last week, that it might just take a little time to actually ignite and turn into this classic fight that we're all hoping for.
You know what? Team Frampton wanted a bigger ring. Is that a game, or are they just choosing to move, use the ring, do it against Kiko Martinez? Scott Quigg is a better fighter than Kiko Martinez. He might not be as good at one thing, but Scott Quigg is somebody who's, I think, quite good at everything. He's very good at one particular thing, but he's quite good at everything. I think he's a better, more rounded fighter than Kiko Martinez. And Kiko Martinez, when the bell goes, he's going to come forward. I think you might be surprised that when the bell goes, Scott chooses not to come forward. He chooses either to move, who people would say, well, that's nuts, but I just covered that. He might be doing it just to bring him forward. Or he might go to centre ring, or like I said last week, come up until the end of Carl's reach and start feinting him and bringing him forward and dropping back and bringing him forward and dropping him back. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if it took 2 or 3 rounds to catch fire. But then it depends who bit first. Who bit. If Carl's thinking you're not coming forward or whatever and chooses to bite and go forward and gets tagged with something, and they're both extremely proud men. Plus, like I say, Carl has seemed to be a little bit of a bit between his teeth this week. He is chewing his jaw a little bit there. So if he gets nailed with a shot and chooses screw you, well then, that's then going to tip in the other man's favour. Not necessarily because what will happen then, it's because he didn't come forward because he wanted to. He came forward just to prove, I'm okay, you hit me and here I come, I'm going to come and get you. So, making a man do what he doesn't want to do, that's the art of fighting. He wants to go left, cut the ring off, make him go right. Because if he normally comes left and now he's going right, he's going to make more mistakes. He wants to come forward, give him angles so you're not there for him. Or at some certain stage in the fight, back him up. That man who comes forward, back him up. and he can be in trouble. If a man wants to move, you got to bring him forward. Now that's a very difficult thing to do, because you got to go to him first. If you just walk away from him, it's obvious what you're doing, but you got to go to him first, but go to him at a range, and with the feet keeping dropping him back to actually entice him forward, nailing him just enough that when you get him, he wants to get you back and then drop back, kind of like fishing. So it is then down to the game plan, what they have in place. And Carl seems to talk a lot that it's kind of on his shoulders, which is okay, it's fine, because he's the fighter, and I think he'd believe the same as any top fighter believed they could go to the corner, they could go into a fight on their own and beat the other man. They don't need anyone. That's just a good attitude to have. But if there's not the game plan in place of when to do the certain things, then it's just down to the fighter deciding, I should be doing it now, and no, I should be doing it now. And it's up to the coach, because the coach isn't under the stress of the fighter. He's not the one getting hit in the teeth, and he can see, no, not now, it's too early yet, you need to do this. It's too early yet, you need to do this. You know, he's trying to bait you. You know, so we'll see. Great fight.
Could be the finest of lines, the finest of things that actually decides this fight in the end, couldn't it?
It will be. It will be. It definitely will be, because they're both, you know, it is a 50-50 fight, and like I said, there's going to be a lot of people afterwards going. 50% of people will be going, I told you so, and the other 50 will be going, yeah, but. And what it really comes down to is, it's two excellent men. On the night it'll be decided. You know, old saying but true one, the best man will win. Simple as that.
It's an intriguing fight. It's a 50-50 for sure. I can't really call it. I've got an inkling for Carl Frampton. I just think he's the better boxer, but I've got no reasoning like you behind it. I've just got a gut feeling that he might do it. Don't make me justify it.
Well, I was going to say, because when lots of people say, I choose this guy or I choose that guy, and I'm totally fine with that. But then when you say to them, okay, so why do you choose that guy? They're like, I don't know. It's kind of like with Tyson Fury and Klitschko. I was one of the flipping handful of people that was saying Fury. But when people asked me why Fury, I gave my reasoning behind it. When I'd ask people why Klitschko, they were just like, because he's better. In what way? In what way? He was very good and is very good at one particular thing, whereas Tyson Fury has proved since his second or third fight. Got an excellent jab, goes to the body, throws combinations, moves well, and goes southpaw and orthodox. How many heavyweights can do that? How many heavyweights go to the body? How many heavyweights are busy with their jab? Most of them headhunters. How many heavyweights throw combinations? So when people said, "Oh, just Klitschko," just because, it was like, well, why? Because people don't want to be wrong. They don't want to end up with egg in their face. So when they see the majority, same as anything else in life, going this guy, they think, I don't know no difference, so I'll go with them too. I'll just hide in the crowd instead of having the balls stand on the other side and give you a reason why. So I've given my reason why. I might be proved wrong, but I don't mind a bit of egg in my face. I've given my reason because they're my legitimate thoughts on it.
Like you said, I think everybody, you know, the neutral boxing fans just want to see a great fight and the best boxer to win, and hopefully that'll be the case on Saturday night.
Being disappointed.
Let's hope not. Thanks again, Paddy, for joining us.
Keep smiling, brother.
Cheers, buddy.
God bless.